Hey guys, Steve here with the strategy session for Wednesday, August 13th, 2014. Hope you guys had a great day. This morning I had tweeted that there were really two ways that this market could go at this point from what I was seeing. The 1941 level on the S&P 500 futures, in my opinion, was one of the first steps that needed to be resolved before we, to put in some higher prices. And when I tweeted out this morning, we had, of course, bounced off of those lows or those highs, and we're starting to move lower. The ticks were starting to move lower, and at that point, I tweeted out that there were two resolutions I saw: either that we were going to roll back over from this downtrend line, or we were going to push back through 1941 for an ultimate test of the underside of the 50-day moving average. So, of course, as the day went on, we had the futures move to the higher level. Okay, so we closed 1946 up about 15.5 points, and now we're really, we're past this level here, this 1941, which was this high and this low, and now I see us testing this 1948, which is also looks like is going to be somewhere right around the 50-day moving average. If we go back, I zoomed out the chart to a full year instead of 9 months, but I just wanted to show you guys one other trend line that I'm looking at here, and that is something along these lines here. Okay, so if we remove this trend line, so we have this low, just about that low, almost that low, and sure enough, the low that we had from Friday. So, again, this is about I always kind of adjust my trend lines as I gather more information. So right now, with this trend line, there's about 5 lows on it. So that's definitely a solid trend line in my opinion. We're breaking that downtrend line on the S&P 500, and we'll see where we go. Maybe we could retest those highs. Maybe this is a V-shaped reversal. Maybe we move sideways. Right now, it's unclear. But as I said, a couple times, if you look at the bounce off the weekly trend line here, we're definitely getting what we're looking for with that open green box to signal maybe some higher prices. I'm going to run through our stocks pretty quick because the analysis has been the same for about the last week or so. I don't think there's anything major that is going on that we need to address. But for right now, Apple moving higher off that 50-day moving average. Again, I think we can eventually move our next stop level to this 94.40. I'd like to see this high taken out of $100, or at least see the 50-day move up past that level, and then we can adjust stop to 94.40. ADM still continues higher after this gap from earnings. I think at this point we can potentially move our stop. We're going to actually do it right now to 46.40. So we'll put another trend line or a price level. So we'll go right there, 46.40. We'll move the alert, and we'll make the previous trailing stop gray. I like to keep my trailing stops gray, just so I could, when I go back to the trade, just to see exactly where I had my stops, where my current stop is, and how I proceeded with the trade. It's always good for me to look at a trade after it's done. That's why I do the anatomy of the trade videos, to look at a trade when it's done and, make sure I followed my plan and we're just trailing stops accurately and being honest with myself. So, like I said, that's the best way for me, and that's what I like to do. AMT, we had those couple days yesterday and the day before pulling back. Now today we had a nice bounce, so maybe we're bouncing off this level, this 96.25 level. But for right now, again, stop is 90.83. Let's go ahead and make this one gray. So stop is 90.83. I think our next stop level could be this 92.20, but again, we would have to see that 50-day moving average catch up. But right now, we're pretty much locked in. Or not locked in, but our stop level is above where we entered. So right now we have some good gains in American Tower. APD again coming down. I'm starting to look at this as maybe this is putting in somewhat of a rounded bottom. You can kind of visualize maybe this kind of doing something like this, right? Where we would come in lower, and now we have this small consolidation, and maybe it starts pushing high. Again, if we can get a nice reversal off these levels, this 130, 120 level would probably be our next stop level. Right now I'm still looking at this low as the low that would need to be taken out. Eventually, before we get to that 130, 120, we potentially could move this to this 128.74. But again, I want to at least see this start to break out higher, and then we can adjust to here. And then when we move above 136.70, then we can adjust to 130, 120. So again, it's kind of in your head of where you want to move stops to, and that's really what makes it, have your plan. And this way, when what you anticipate happening happens, exactly what your intentions were and where you're moving everything to. So EQR continues to move higher in this channel. Really good bounce. Again, obvious next stop level. Let's take this line out. I don't know what this is. Next stop level would be 64.13, and again, I want to see a breakout over 66.35, and then we can move to 64.14 once the 50-day catches up to it. Expedia, basically testing the top of the box again. It was a little bit higher, closed right in the middle of the range, but it was a little bit higher during the day. Again, this is all part of the plan. I think the next stop level right now it would be this 79.38. Okay, and that would be when we can get a breakout over these 86 level, and then we would be able to move stop 79.50ish. Let's take this one off. Fidelity, came down, tested our stop. Now we're moving higher. So again, I think our new stop level we could actually probably adjust right now should be this 54.86. Again, not much of a change in your stop, but a change nonetheless. Let's make this gray. So, and as I said, and then as we can get this push over 56, then let's see what happens. Maybe there's another level up here around this 55 that we can adjust our stop to. But essentially the reason that we're adjusting this stop is because now if this came back and reversed and went through 54.86, now what are we doing? We're putting in a lower high and a lower low. So trend reversed at that point. All right, so that's why we're able to move to 54.86. It also coincides with the little consolidation that we're having here on the weekly right above, right? 54.86 is right here. Okay, so that's this low. So again, have a plan and execute it. H&R Block, what looked like a bad entry yesterday doesn't look so bad today. Our stop right now obviously is still 31.93. I'm sorry, our stop is 31.64. So let's adjust this down. We're using this low right here from 8.5 as our stop. And then let's see, right now the next obviously resistance level is in this 33.50 area. So let's see if we can start pushing above that, and then who knows, then we can maybe adjust stop to this 31.95. It all depends on how the market acts, and how quickly the 50-day can catch up, how quickly we can get advances from consolidations. So there's a lot of things to look at, but again, I would think the next stop level probably would be this 31.95, because that's the lowest close from this consolidation is back here from the beginning or the middle of July. So 31.95 would be our next stop if we can push through these highs of 33.50. RSG, again, moving higher. Again, we had a pretty rough entry on the 11th, which was Monday, and now we're moving higher. So right now, stop still 36.84. Eventually, we could probably move it to this 37.70, but again, that's down the line. And the last one, Tesoro, which was probably our worst entry of the last 3 positions we entered, and right now we're sitting right back at those highs. So good recovery in Tesoro. Stop still down here, 57.23. Next stop level would probably be here, 59, and then so on. This would probably be if we, of course, maybe a couple weeks from now, 61.72 would be our next trailing stop. So a couple different stop levels to have. Right now, I still think 57.26 is the appropriate level until we get a true breakout of this little box here, and then we can move to 59. That's it really for tonight. I mean, there were a couple trades that did trigger, but we're not taking. Let's go over those real quick. Avalon Bay, great little setup, great breakout. We're not going to be taking it in the model portfolio because it's a financial, and we are maxed out with our financial allocation. I think we're at almost 35 or 36%. But again, if you were taking this trade, there's a couple different ways. You can have your stop right here at 147.60. I would probably prefer to have my stop down here at 144.98. As you can see, that would break the 50-day moving average, but nonetheless, great setup right here in Avalon Bay. And the other one was, let's see, where is it? It was IVZ. Invesco. Actually, maybe it wasn't this one. No, that's not a good entry. It looked better, I think, earlier, and then it must have sold off into the close. If this had closed probably towards the highs, I would say that was a good entry, and then you could have had your stop here at 36.95 or here at 37.50, depending on how aggressive you wanted to be. So really, the only good setup that came out of today was Avalon Bay. A couple other ones that are knocking on the door. Disney, we keep talking about this one. I still think this is a really good setup, but we haven't gotten that real solid breakout from these levels. So for right now, that one is on hold, and another one is CVS. Again, same thing. It's really trying to break out over these highs here, but at this point, it needs to have a nice solid breakout. And the last one, LUV. Once again, great little setup here on the weekly chart. Nothing not to like about this. And definitely check out a couple tweets I sent out about LUV and how it's really been a great example of trend following. As you can see, these consolidations and these breakouts. This was one we actually entered when I first started the blog back in January. This was one of my first positions, I think. And the fact is, it would still be a valid position today, almost 8 months later, and 50 or 60% gains. So unfortunately, I was not long it at that point, but for the model portfolio, it was talked about, and it looks like it's setting up again. So if we can get a breakout over this, what is this, 29.30, 29.50 level, you could really come back in here and set your stop right here at this 27.50, and have a $2 risk on a $30 stock. So good tight stop, great trending stock. 50-day moving average has really been holding it up, and who knows, maybe it's got another 50 or 60% in it. But as I said, guys, that's it for tonight. If you haven't already, please follow me, StockTwits, Twitter, Google+, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and subscribe to the nightly recap to have all these video links delivered right to your inbox. With that said, have a great rest of the night, and we will see you tomorrow.